Yes, it's a good way to start. We tune down to where the world is.
Do you have a cable, Steve?
Yes, I do. Right on the George Gooby, honey. We're living rooming it with Joni Mitchell and Elliot Roberts, and it's about time. Because
strange having 2 frets less on the neck, you know.
that's right. You're used to a 14 fret neck.
Yeah.
Can't get there?
Sure I can. I just have to work at it. When morning comes to Morgantown, the merchants roll their awnings down. The milk trucks make their morning rounds. Morning Morgantown. We'll rise up early with the sun to ride the bus while everyone is yawning and the day is young. Morning Morgantown. Morning Morgantown. Buy your dreams $1 down. Morning any town you name. Morning's just the same. Ooh. We'll find a table in the shade and sip our tea and lemonade and watch the morning on parade. Morning Morgantown. Ladies in their rainbow fashions, colored stop and go lights flashing. We'll wink at total strangers passing in. Morning Morgantown. Morning Morgantown. Buy your dreams $1 down. Morning any town you name. Morning's just the same. Ooh. Miss those extra friends. I'd like to buy you everything. A wooden bird with painted wings. A window full of colored rings. Morning Morgantown. But the only thing I have to give to make you smile, to win you with are all the mornings still to live in morning Morgantown. Morning Morgantown. Buy your dreams $1 down. Morning any town you name. Morning's just the same. Ooh, morning, just the same.
Yes. West Virginia? Who's that fresh kid over in the back?
Who's that kid?
Yeah.
That's Elliot Roberts, my dear friend and manager, standing.
If he's gonna yarp, tell him to get on a microphone. That's all.
Yeah,
That was it? Coward. Coward, coward, coward. Terrible people, managers.
no, not this one.
No, I gather that for some strange reason, the usual, he doesn't smoke a cigar, one, and I do, but he doesn't. And two, I asked him, go listen to a friend of mine, no names, because this friend of mine is I consider a major talent, very major talent. And he needs management. Badly. And Elliot went and saw him. He came back, and I talked to him. He said, no, he's not my kind of thing and what have you. Now, most managers don't do that. Either they go for what's already making money, which is, one thing, or else they go for anything that might look potentially and what have you. And if they've got a couple of people that are doing very well for them, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, there's always somebody else to pick up. And he stayed on principle. He didn't happen to dig the kind of thing that my friend did. I would have done the same thing with Dylan in 1961. Right. How often do you get the business about Saskatoon?
Oh, people ask me about it. I guess people are kind of curious about it, having heard it mentioned in a Bing Crosby movie once.
Which one?
Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court. Did you ever see that?
No.
Well, you know the story about the Connecticut Yankee who goes back in time to the time of King Arthur's Court and everything, and Merlin gets really jealous of him because of all of his 20th century magical powers, and so he's about to be hung. And he knows, though, that particular day that there's going to be an eclipse of the sun. So he's trying one last trick, and he's standing up there, and they're about to put the rope around his neck, and he's waiting for the eclipse of the sun, and he's murmuring all these magic words, and he went, bippity-boppity-boo, Kalamazoo, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. And put us on the map.
Right. It's, what is it? It's a wheat farming town, or what?
Yeah, it's a city. 200,000 people.
A small town, yes.
Yeah. But it's a good place to come from, I guess.
We said we don't do interviews, we just have conversations. But there's one thing I said before that I was curious about, because in your first album, you gave special thanks to a teacher. And
Mr. Kratzman.
Mr. Kratzman, was he an English teacher?
No, he was a 7th grade teacher. And he was really a regular fellow, at that time, you're especially needing, I think, the kind of teacher who is real and doesn't have that barrier, student-teacher barrier. And we used to throw chalk brushes at him, and he'd throw them back, and he encouraged that kind of tomfoolery. But when he said stop, if one piece of chalk went flying after that, or if you broke his discipline once he had set it up again and restored order, he was really upset, and we all knew that, his wrath was terrible, But he got all of that kind of wildness out of our systems, and then we were ready to do anything for him, He was a great psychologist as well as a fine English teacher, and those were his two best subjects were history, and that year we happened to be studying Australia, and he was an Australian, so that was great, and English, and the only thing that he encouraged in writing was that we wrote from our own experience, or we wrote things that we liked. So he would let the boys write about squash bugs, and he'd like to let them write horror stories, and all of the things that boys of that age like to write about, And he didn't mark you on. He just wanted you to be original and honest, to yourself and to others in the writing, and he was a great teacher. But I also think that my mother, I should have put Mr. Kratzman and my mother, who made me appreciate words, and my father, actually, because they both spoke very good English around the house. You know what I mean? They went out of their way to encourage me to be literate. I don't know how else to explain it.
It's a house full of books?
Yeah.
Yeah, it helps, doesn't it?
I always liked the pictures better than anything else. I never was a reader very much. So most of the learning took place over the dinner table and things. We bandied words around. My mother always helped me with compositions, and she was always quoting Shakespeare and Robbie Burns, and she was great. So
when did you start? When and how did you start writing? Did you write only for songs, or did you start writing poetry when you were a kid?
Oh, I started writing poetry. In Mr. Kratzman's class, we began to really get into creative writing, I remember writing about ribbons of silver, rivers and things like that, and I wrote a long narrative poem about a stallion at that point. And then I didn't write till I was about 14, and this was extracurricular. I mean, we wrote in composition classes and things. But I wrote a poem sitting under a hairdryer, getting ready to go to a prom when I was 14. I was reading a movie magazine because that's the only thing that they had to read at the hairdressers, right? And True Love comics. And I was getting my hair done in one of those fantastic new, at that time, bouffant bubbly things, with lots of lacquer and everything on it. And
that's in case anybody bounces you on your head while you're dancing, no damage. Right?
Right. So I was sitting in it and I was reading about Natalie Wood or Sandra Dee and Bobby Darin or something like that.
That's thrilling, isn't it?
And I said, my God, I really wouldn't want this blasted all over the school paper if my boyfriend and I were, like if he was seeing somebody else on the side. What a terrible life it is. So I wrote a poem, and I think of it now as being kind of prophetic because I didn't know that I was going to have anything to do at that time with the wonderful world of show business, but it went.
I hope you put that in quotes.
Yeah, of course, the wonderful. It went, The Fishbowl, it was called. The fishbowl is a world reversed where fishermen with hooks that dangle from the bottom up reel down their catch without a fight on gilded bait. Pike, pickerel, bass, the common fish, ogle through distorting glass, see only glitter, glamour, gaiety, fog up the bowl with lusty breath, lunge towards the bait and miss and weep for fortunes lost. Oh, envy not the goldfish, my friends, though he be decked in golden garb, and labors not for next repast, but earns his keep by being merely beautiful, a pet to all the oglers who come and say, "Look there, I do believe he winked his eye at me."
Oh, wow.